welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org, and if you're overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you're in the UK, 0330-332-6541, or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, are Jamaican contract workers being exploited? And in the second watch, when trust is placed in the church. For our social media question, we ask, do you believe contract workers in Jamaica are treated fairly? Why or why not? We're asking you to share your responses on our Love 101 FM Facebook page and YouTube channel, and also on WhatsApp, 876-997-3125, using the hashtag #TheMorningWatch. We'll share your responses later on in the program, but before all of that, here's our quote.
All right, today's I quote is from John F. Kennedy, and it says, "The rights of every man are diminished when the rights of one man are threatened."
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good morning, Joka.
Good morning.
Great. The first watch will be back after this break.
It's the season of Lent, the 40-day period of prayer, fasting, and repentance observed by Christians to mirror the time that Jesus spent in the wilderness and prepare the heart for the celebration of Easter. It's a time for a spiritual reset. Join us for our special Lenten feature, Renewal of the Mind, presented by Love 101 in association with the Escarpment Road New Testament Church of God, in passionate pursuit of the cross. Every day we'll pause to recalibrate our thoughts, find our focus, and fix our eyes on the ultimate sacrifice. Renewal of the Mind, presented by Love 101 in association with the Escarpment Road New Testament Church of God. Daily at 12 p.m. right here on the family station, Love 101.
Love 101 invites you to listen to Leading the Way with Dr. Michael Youssef.
God's blessing of salvation is not only to forgive you all of your sins here and now, but to keep you safe for all of eternity.
Dr. Michael Youssef.
God's blessings for your salvation will keep you protected, and it's going to keep you protected even from your own foolish decisions. He will keep you protected even if you are prone to wander away from Him. Will keep you protected from your ingratitude to His grace and blessing. He will keep you protected from being preoccupied with His blessings and ignoring Him. Even when you're focusing on the wrong things, His security for you is indisputable.
Want to learn more about this subject? Listen to Leading the Way with Dr. Michael Youssef on this station.
That's Leading the Way with Dr. Michael Youssef, Sunday to Thursday at 7:30 to 8 p.m. on the family station, Love 101.
There is
Life can feel overwhelming at times, but you don't have to face it alone. The Ministry of Counseling and Prayer of the Edgewater Baptist Church is here to support you with our caring and confidential telephone counseling service. Whatever you're going through,
grief, stress, family challenges, or just feeling stuck? Our trained counselors are ready to listen, pray, and guide you toward hope and healing. Take the first step today. Call us at 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. Weekdays between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Help is available through the prayer and counseling ministry of the Edgewater Baptist Church. Remember, help is just a phone call away. That's 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. Weekdays between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Call now and let us walk this journey with you.
Happy, cause you pop straight.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Now, a recent article in the Jamaica Gleaner highlights renewed calls to abolish or significantly reform contract employment arrangements. Indeed, Colin Virgo, Assistant General Secretary of the BITU, while speaking at a recent event, warned that many workers on contract arrangements were denied their basic rights and benefits enjoyed by full-time employees. Rights such as pensions, union representation, paid leave, and access to loans. Indeed, many were left without support after natural disasters like Hurricane Melissa because they lacked secure employment status conditions. Well, to discuss these issues, we have so far online Wayne Chen, President of the Jamaica Employers Federation, and we hope to be joined by Colin Virgo, Assistant General Secretary of the BITU. Good morning to you, Wayne Chen.
Morning, Dr. Toussaint. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Great. Thanks for joining us this early in the morning. You'd have heard in the preamble of the statement or statements made by Colin Virgo in regards to contract work. What are your opening comments in that regard?
Contract work, and by contract work, I think he's referring here now to short-term, fixed-term contracts.
Mm-hmm.
They have a place in every workforce. It's not unique to Jamaica. And I think by focusing on this alone, we lose the sight of the bigger picture. There are certain forms of work that by their very nature would be suitable for short-term contracts. To start at the very basic, if someone comes to your home to do some repairs, that is going to be a short-term contract.
Mm-hmm.
But let us jump forward from there. In Jamaica, significant portions of the workforce work in seasonal industries. The hospitality sector, which employs several 100,000 Jamaicans, is a seasonal product. You have the winter tourist season and then you have the snow season. It would be impractical for the majority of employers in that sector to have people on long-term tenures and pay them when there is very little revenue. It's just not the nature of that sector.
Mm-hmm.
More recent in the agricultural sector, similarly, there are times in the year when you're going to need more workers and times when you need less.
Yeah.
So it's appropriate for that sector. More recently, we see it in the BPO sector, business process outsourcing, where you have more recently rebranded as the global services sector, which is really where Jamaica now plugs into the global economy. And the companies that operate in that sector, and they're large and small, the big obvious ones you'll see, so the Sutherland Globals, but there are many smaller companies and many individuals who work in the virtual economy for international organizations. The issue with those is that these organizations bid for contracts. So a Sutherland may bid for customer service support for American Airlines, and I'm using a purely theoretical model. That contract may go for a year, may go for 2 years. It will be impossible for the procurer of that service to offer employment longer than the tenure of the contract. It is highly imprudent and it will make them uncompetitive because we're not just competing within Jamaica. We are competing with similar operations in the Philippines, in India, in other Caribbean countries. So the term of employment would be aligned with the tenure of the contract. So we have to step back from the picture and say, what does Jamaica, the country, really want? What does our employment landscape ought to look like? Well, I believe that coming out of the pandemic, coming out of Beryl, coming out of Melissa, and I'm only using huge exogenous shocks of the last 5 to 6 years to remind us that Jamaica has to build a sustainable, resilient economy, a sustainable, resilient workforce. The Jamaica Employees Federation has long maintained that the social protection, and I hear my good friend Colin Berger talking about pensions. He talks about whether explicitly or implicitly what happens when workers are out of work and whether it is redundancy pay or unemployment insurance, and I have quite a bit to say about that. Whether it is all the other benefits that would accrue in some of the, let me put it this way, some of the welfare societies. Because the biggest economy in the world, the one closest to us and the one we often model, we tend not to look at the things that we don't like. The United States doesn't have the same redundancy pay setup we do. They don't have maternity leave. They don't have, there are quite a few benefits that Jamaicans take for granted that they just don't in the United States. And yet the Jamaicans, if we were to say no more visas to the US, I will tell you half of the workforce will get up and fly out of here tomorrow. So the issue is not the specific benefits that Mr. Berger outlined. It is the overall package, because Jamaicans are quite willing when they go to the US to earn more money and look after all of those things themselves. So let us look at how do we achieve a society that we can all agree around, that offers a degree of social protection so no one falls below a certain level. And what does that society look like? And how do we get there? And that is where I would like to take that conversation. So if we believe that global services / BPOs are going to be part of our mix going forward, if we believe that agriculture is going to be a part of our mix going forward, if we believe that hospitality services are going to be part of our mix going forward, and we see the seasonality of those or the short-term tenure of those, the question now becomes, how do workers in those sectors enjoy the benefits that we see all Jamaicans ought to enjoy? So I am for, right across the board, us designing social protection that provides these things for everyone, regardless of whether you're a sole trader, a small business, whether you work in hospitality, whether you work in global services, wherever you work, whether you work in the virtual economy, because more and more I am pushing Jamaicans towards working in the global economy, because the only thing you need is a skill that is marketable and a good internet connection. Okay. And that is where I think a lot of our people can be. And in fact, we can attract people to come to live in Jamaica. Enjoy, they have no determined digital nomads. We should be a destination for digital nomads.
I'm sorry, Wayne Chen, could you just stick up in right there? We are up on a break. We'll be right back.
Sure.
No cash? No problem. Use Jamdex, Jamaica's central bank digital currency. The time by Jamdex is
7:16 a.m.
Get ready to take a trip down memory lane this Throwback Thursday inside Alive 1 to 5 with yours truly, Sarah and the Chirpy One. Tune in at 1:45 for a whirlwind of wordplay with Menticize. Prayer Warriors unite, fuel your faith and ignite your spirit at 2 p.m. with Prayer Blast. At 2:15 inside Piece of the Past, we look at something from the past. At 3 p.m., take a musical trip back in time with our Throwback Thursday playlist. At 4:30, stick and stay for more fun coming your way as Auntie Vashti wraps things up with the Small People Show. All this and more will come alive this Throwback Thursday with me, Sarah and the Chirpy One on the family station, Love 101.
Come on now, boom! Everybody, boom! Come on now, boom!
Jamaica Central Bank digital currency is now here. Jamlex, no cash, no problem. Step into a future of ease, convenience, and security. Conduct business with your mobile device instantly and without fees. This is how life should be with Jamlex. You catch it free. Jamlex and the real free. Use it to buy your smart TV. You can buy your shoes at 3Ps. The Central Bank digital currency. No cash, no problem. Jamlex, backed by the Bank of Jamaica. Score with Coca-Cola and live your World Cup dream. We're giving you the chance to experience the 2026 FIFA World Cup live. Just buy a 355 or 591 milliliter Coca-Cola with a gold or a black cap. Find your code under the cap and WhatsApp it to 876-789-8020. Then follow the steps. From now till April 30th, every code brings you closer to incredible prizes and a trip you'll never forget. The 2026 FIFA World Cup is best experienced with Coca-Cola. Follow Coca-Cola Jamaica for updates. Authorized under Section 58 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Jamaica, the national budget is here and it affects you, your family, your future, your community. It's all connected. Now is the time to get informed and get involved. What's new? What's changing? And how will it impact your daily life? Tune in on Tuesday, March 10 as the Honorable Favour Williams, Minister of Finance and the Public Service, presents the 2026-27 Central Government Budget. The national budget is everybody's business. Visit mof.gov.jm for more details.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and this is the second or the first watch. We're actually looking on the question, are Jamaican contract workers being exploited? And in so doing, we have online Wayne Chen, President of the Jamaica Employers Federation, and we are still trying to connect with Colin Virgo, Assistant General Secretary of the BITU. Before the break, Wayne Chen reminded us of the fact that when we talk about contracts, maybe short-term vis-a-vis fixed-term arrangements, we need to bear in mind the seasonal industries, and the terms of employment should be in line with the tenure of the contract. And then, in his closing remarks before the break, he was saying that the real issue is the overall package. Please continue. Wayne Chen, your thoughts.
How it works in more advanced economies is that we have a social contract around what social protection looks like.
Mm-hmm.
There are many societies in the world where education right up to university level is free, and I put free in quotation marks because it's not really free. The society has come together and decided that collectively we are going to see that our children get the best education they can. There are societies in the world with universal health care where you go to the hospital and regardless of the procedure, it is paid for by our collective taxes. We here in Jamaica can do it. We have made a promise around universal health care. I mean, we can discuss the quality of the system and the management of the system. We have made education free, at least at the secondary level, and subsidized at tertiary. So we have the pieces of it, but we have never come together to really discuss the management of it in a collective whole to see what good social protection looks like. But we're not in the same place today that we were even 10 years ago.
Mm.
When the government went through its compensation review exercise, one of the outcomes that seemed to have escaped the headline is that government was the greatest abuser of the short-term contracts.
Mm.
Let me say that again.
Mm.
the government of Jamaica for decades had been the greatest abuser of short-term contracts because there were many people working in the public sector. And I think of a few of the stories. The night watchman at a primary school who was just getting contracts rotated for over 20 years. And as you see, so it's all over. So one of the things that came out of the review is that many of these contracts were properly placed where they ought to be, which is as tenured employees who had served in the same institutions for decades. You may have seen it in the Ministry of Health maybe a year or so ago, where I think there were around 800 doctors that had just been there on contract, rolling and rolling for years, were properly tenured into the system. It wasn't that new jobs were being created. It was that they recognized that the short-term tenure contracts were being abused in the public sector, and it was the greatest abuser of the short-term contract.
Let me ask you, therefore, Wayne Chen, based on the report in the newspaper, Colin Virgo had mentioned rights such as pensions, union representation, paid leave, and access to loans. Why is that not put into the working arrangement with contract workers for most of the firms?
I want to come back. Why should a worker's pension be the responsibility of the firm, especially nowadays when gig work is the norm and people move from place to place? Why isn't a pension something that belongs to the worker and is portable, which is what happens in modern system?
If you include it in their arrangements, whether they are there, and move on, wouldn't that also go with them, the arrangement?
Of course.
Yes.
What I'm saying is that belongs to the worker.
So the employer has them to do that?
No, you can make that arrangement with your employer. That is entirely between the worker and the employer, how they may want to contract it. But what I would say is let us step away from that. Why isn't, let me use an example. We have a national insurance scheme in Jamaica, which was formed over 60 years ago, and yet still every Jamaican is not a participant. Why is that? Why haven't we reached a stage in Jamaica where the national insurance scheme, which is meant to be the national pension, why isn't it a contributory scheme where you pay the basic minimum, the indigent and those who are unable to pay is paid for by the taxpayers, but those who can afford to pay more can make cash tax-free contributions to that pool so they can enjoy a greater benefit when they retire? Why isn't that scheme more transparently managed so we can all see how it's being managed? In fact, I go further. Right now in the public sector and several private sector companies, you have, and I'm going to get very granular, you have a human resource management software called My HR Plus, which gives every worker an app on their phone that they can see the size of their pension, they can see how many vacation days leave is left, they can see what their next paycheck is going to look like, how many hours of overtime they have worked last year, whatever. We have the technology. I'm sure collectively we have the brains. Why aren't we sitting down and saying, why can't we agree around a national cohesive system of social protection that makes any disagreement Mr. Virgo and I may have really redundant? Because every Jamaica is entitled to it. What we decide then is how we pay for it. Whether it's a contribution from the employers, whether it's a contribution from the workers, whether it's a contribution from the consolidated fund, which represents taxes of the people. But we don't have these discussions. We have a piece of discussion. We attack short-term contracts, not realizing, let us ban them tomorrow. But if you ban short-term contracts tomorrow, you may as well lock every hotel and lock down the BPO sector. I have no quarrel with that if that's what we want,
Why not?
I don't care about regulation, whatever the government put, we will work with it. We just work within the regulation.
Let's look on some other tangibles. What about union representation, paid leave?
Every Jamaican has the right to union representation. And more than that,
contract workers?
Every Jamaican, contract workers, you can stop contract workers from forming their own group, They can get up tomorrow and form a group and say, we are collectively bargaining. It's a right enshrined in our constitution.
And so,
more than that, and more than that, since 2010 or whatever it was, they have a right of individual representation at the Industrial Disputes Tribunal.
Mm.
I think we're still talking in 1960s and 1970s language when we come to industrial relations in the country. The fact is that union membership has shrunk in Jamaica. Outside of the public sector, I don't think you reach 20,000 Jamaicans in unions, and it has nothing to do with contract work.
You know of any business where contract work is the arrangement and they have union representation?
I can't think of any off the top of my head, but if you talk about union representation, are you talking about collectively bargaining, or do you mean a registered union in the whole style?
Yeah, man, union, yes. BITU and all of those.
I don't know of any, but as I said to you, the Jamaican workforce has 1.4 million workers. 1.4 million. The entire country of Jamaica does not have 150,000 unionized workers. So it has nothing to do with contract work.
There are those, Winchen, and this is a criticism that perhaps is not new to you, who are concerned or contend that oftentimes employers use contract employment arrangements as a method of getting full-time labor for a fraction of the labor cost. What is your response?
There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. And where those cases are abused, the workers have the first choice to work have is to walk away from that and go and find a job that does not have that arrangement. The second choice is they can be called out. They can be taken to the Ministry of Labour, and the Ministry of Labour has intervened in those cases. But I say this, when a business first starts, in Jamaica, we mythologize and we talk about other countries that are growing rapidly. If you go to countries that have a high rate of innovation and business startups, and I think in the United States, in the early stages of business, they have to use that arrangement. Why? Because you don't want to start a business that has a highly likelihood of failure with a lot of costs at the end of that process. So we have to make our minds as a country. I keep saying, every decision we make has consequences. If we decide that every Jamaican must have tenured employment, paid maternity leave, paid paternity leave, all the wonderful things that a Norway has, or a Iceland has, or a Singapore has, we have to decide if that's what we want, let us design it and let's see how we're going to make it sustainable. I'm fully ready for that discussion.
Yes.
But to attack the thing in a piecemeal fashion will get us nowhere fast.
So the way forward then, what can be done, what should be done to let this come to reality?
To agree. Let's go with reality. We have the pieces, and we have long had the pieces of a proper, and when I say proper, I don't mean fantastic, but a good basic network of social protection. And let me go through the elements. We have free education up to the secondary level and subsidized at tertiary. We have free healthcare, and we can argue about the quality and the delivery. We have a national pension system, the NIS. We have a contributory housing system, the NHT. We are now in discussion at the Employees Federation and the unions with the government over unemployment insurance. We need to pull them together and see how we can better manage the funds that workers and employers contribute, that taxpayers contribute, to make a more robust setup. Because at the end of the day, laws and regulations and taxes are instruments of social design.
Yeah, got to leave it there. Got to leave it there this morning.
Let us have that discussion. So whether somebody's working at digital, no matter whatever, you get the same benefit.
Got to leave it. I'm surprised you're not having these discussions after all these years, but it is what it is.
These discussions have been ongoing with us,
Well, Wayne Chen, President of the Jamaica Employers Federation. Thank you so very much for joining us, sir.
Anytime you're ready for me.
Yes, and we're sorry that we didn't manage to connect with Colin Virgo this morning. The Morning Watch will return in just a moment.
Start your journey with a JN Small Business Loan with small business loans as little as $10,000 and up to $4 million. The time by JN Small Business Loan is
7:31.
Mama work hard, for real. She do the most to send me and my brother go school. So, the dream was always to go to university. Well, I fulfilled 2 dreams with 1 Jane Bank savings plan, you know. I further my education and I make mama proud.
Save so you can make the part, travel far, graduate like a star.
Stop wishing you could. With your Jane Bank savings, you absolutely can. Jane Bank will help you find a way.
Sharing the experience at Fontana Pharmacy. We have a wide variety of items in store just for you. Fill your prescriptions while you shop. And senior citizens enjoy 10% off. Shop household, cosmetics, toys, and many other departments. We also offer curbside pickup and delivery. Visit our website at fontanapharmacy.com. Fontana Pharmacy, where it's all good inside.
GT Sound Limited proudly presents the Experience Gratitude Edition. VIP 10,000, General pre-sold 2,500, 3,000 at the gate. Early bird tickets until the end of February 2,000. Students 1,500, children 500. Tickets at sparopen.com/theexperience26. Saturday, April 4, Manchester High School. Gates open 5 p.m. Showtime 7 p.m. Come with your best praise as GT Sound celebrates 40 years.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's now look at some news headlines to see what Jamaicans and others are really saying and doing. First of all, JPS restores power to 99% of its customer base. Also, the Court Administration of Jamaica reports smooth start to traffic ticket day in St. Catherine. We see here that Foreign Affairs Ministry assures that there is no concern over misplaced perspective on Prime Minister's address at the recent CARICOM meeting. And also Air France to suspend the flights to Havana. And then finally, U.S. Senate to vote on Trump's war powers as Iran conflict continues. Those are some of the major headlines in our newspapers. Coming up next, we'll share some of the feedback from our social media question. Do you believe contract workers in Jamaica are treated fairly? Why or why not? We're asking you to leave a comment on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, Love 101 FM Jamaica, or WhatsApp 876-997-3125. We'll be right back.
Love 101 invites you to listen to Leading the Way with Dr. Michael Youssef.
God's blessing of salvation is not only to forgive you all of your sins here and now, but to keep you safe for all of eternity.
Dr. Michael Youssef.
God's blessings for your salvation will keep you protected, and it's going to keep you protected even from your own foolish decisions. He will keep you protected even if you are prone to wander away from Him. Will keep you protected from your ingratitude to His grace and blessing. He will keep you protected from being preoccupied with His blessings and ignoring Him. Even when you're focusing on the wrong things, His security for you is indisputable.
Want to learn more about this subject? Listen to Leading the Way with Dr. Michael Youssef on this station.
That's Leading the Way with Dr. Michael Youssef, Sunday to Thursday at 7:30 to 8 p.m. on the family station, Love 101.
Every Saturday, 7 p.m. to midnight on Love 101. You're invited to travel in time with music at its best. It's the Gospel Music Machine with the Gospel Music Master, Nigel Wilkinson. From your favorite choir music to Christian contemporary, a touch of reggae and the Caribbean feel.
Gospel Music Machine, Nigel Wilkinson.
Nigel play the tune. Yep, the Gospel Music Master is still playing the tunes down alone. And he's definitely your music master. Saturdays, 7 p.m. to midnight. You won't regret the link. It's on the family station, Love 101.
That is all I need.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's now join Jokal for a look at how our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp friends answer today's question. Do you believe contract workers in Jamaica are treated fairly? Why or why not? Jokal.
All right, so we have some responses. Miss Davis on WhatsApp says, we are abused. Slavery. They work us, and when we get old, they throw us out. Working for little and nothing. God no. Some of us are not familiar with governance, so we get lost in being informed. We need a program like that where we are informed. Thank you, Ms. Davis. Monica says contract workers are at a disadvantage. They have no group pension, life, health insurance coverage, and vacation benefits. Security guard companies, the supermarket chains often put employees in this employment agreement. A few may pay a gratuity at the end of the contract. Most do not. Also at an advantage are those classified as temporary, some for many years without being put on staff. And we have Cherry. Cherry says, I believe contract workers are not treated fairly based on the fact that was shared in the public domain. They should be treated fairly as other workers in other different places of employment. So, yeah.
Okay. A mouthful there. We want to thank the responders. As we now segue into our second watch. According to a recent article in the Jamaica Observer entitled, They Trust the Church, many Jamaicans, especially in marginalized communities, rank faith-based organizations as some of the most trusted institutions in the society. In essence, the survey reflected that citizens rely on churches not only for spiritual nourishment, but also for counseling, community support, social guidance, and advocacy. Well, to say more about this survey, we are joined by Professor Clinton Hutton, Director of the Michael University College's Institute of Technological and Educational Research, and Father Sean Major Campbell, who is a rector of Christ Church in Vineyard Town, and of course a human rights advocate. Good morning to you both.
Good morning, and to your listeners.
Great, good to have you. Suspect that was Professor Hutton?
Yes, that is him.
Father Major Campbell, are you with us?
Yes, I responded.
Okay, great. Good to have you.
Good morning to you and to your listeners.
Yes, okay.
That's good. Right, you said that.
All right, let me begin with Professor. Professor Hutton, what can you tell us in regards to why and how the Michael-led survey was conducted?
Well, it's a survey by Jamaicans for Justice, paid for by the European Union.
Mm-hmm.
The survey is really entitled Citizens' Rights, Roles, Responsibilities, and Practices Survey 2025. And this was carried out by a team from Michael University College. Research led by the Deputy Director of ITO, this is Sandra Gray Alvarenga, in a number of, let us say, inner city communities in the Kingston, St. Andrew area.
Yes.
And a number of different questions respecting people's rights and roles and responsibilities. And practices of such were questioned in relation to a number of things, which include trust in institutions at the formal level and informal level. And as it turns out, trust amongst the church is highest amongst the respondents from these communities.
We express trust.
More, yeah, they express more trust in the church than, say, the police and the political institutions.
Yes.
And I suspect some that political parties would be part of that.
Yes.
And there is also less trust amongst the police. So the police is government agency, government institution, and then a broadly constructed category of government system. So on and all, both would show a lower level. There's some huge trespassing, a lower level of trust in these institutions.
Yeah.
So it's important. I mean, a comparative study with communities outside of these communities would also actually show what people from, say, different economic group or perceived communities outside of these communities.
Yeah. Prof, we're going to come and drill down into that a little bit more. I want to bring in Father Major Campbell before we go on the break. Father Campbell, what are your comments, thoughts on the fact that the church has come out on top, in regards to trust levels among residents of the marginalized communities that were surveyed?
Not surprising, because many of the churches reaching out, outreach work is actually to the marginalized, and it is worthy of note too, certainly in the context of wider civil society, human rights groups, that it is when people get representation and have their voices heard that they actually come to appreciate more some of these groups and organizations. One has to understand and appreciate, for example, that the work I do in human rights, it's not, nobody has employed me to do it. I'm not paid to do it. I do it as other church organizations do, because I believe it is a part of what Christ wants me to do. And the work that is done with respect and unconditional regard for all clients, regardless of status, social status, etc., etc.
Yes.
So not surprising to me.
Yes. Gentlemen, we're up on a break. We'll be right back.
Okay.
If your home and internet is Flow, but your mobile isn't, it's time to make the switch to Flow. Now Jamaica's fastest mobile network with the best value. And the benefits begin right from the start. When you add postpaid mobile to your current internet plan, you get a $20,000 gift card just for signing up. For only $3,700 plus GCT per month, enjoy unlimited social media and YouTube, 80 gigabytes of unused data plus unlimited anywhere local calls and texts. Make the switch to Flow today. This is Jamaica's network. Conditions apply.
Stepping confidently into a new year starts with one simple, powerful word. Yes! Say yes to new beginnings. Say yes to a secure future. Say yes to living the life you love with your family. With health and life insurance from Sagicor Life, we're here to give you the protection and peace of mind you deserve in 2026. All you have to do is say yes to what matters most. Call 888 Sagicor to speak with an advisor today.
Big Truth Fire! On March 28th at 6 p.m., John Mark Wigan presents his album launch, By Fire, live at the Jamaica College Auditorium. A 4D immersive worship experience where the atmosphere and the music pull you into the journey of refinement. By Fire features the likes of Kevin Downswell, Rondell Positive, Alicia Taylor, Gilead Collective, and more. General tickets are on sale, $4,000. Comfort tickets, $10,000. Tickets can be purchased at Jamaica Youth for Christ and Green Room Studios. Tickets are also available online at SpurOpen.com. It's By Fire. Be there.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. And this is the second watch. We are looking at the whole matter of trust being placed in the church. And our discussion comes against the backdrop and the background of a recent survey that was spearheaded by the Michael University College. And in that survey, Jamaicans, especially in marginalized communities, ranked faith-based organizations as some of the most trusted institutions in the society. In our discussion, we have online Father Sean Major Campbell, rector of Christ Church in Vineyard Town. He's also a human rights advocate, and Professor Clinton Hutton, director of the Institute of Technical and Educational Research at the Michael University College. Welcome back, gentlemen. Thanks for staying with us. Professor Hutton, with us? Yeah, Prof?
Yes.
Right. The research we gather focused on the marginalized communities. Are you able to tell us, I think it was about 10 of them, are you able to tell us what those communities were and why the focus on marginalized communities in this regard?
Yeah, these communities include Alverstown, Bennetland, Whitfield Town, Denham Town, Hannah Town, McIntyre Villa, Dunkirk, Mountains View, Rose Town, Tivoli Gardens, Trenchtown, and Waterhouse. So these are clearly communities that one can call inner city. That's another name to denote, that is used to denote these communities. Communities of primarily working class people. Communities formed by people made up of people from other parts of Jamaica, rural Jamaica in particular, who migrated to these areas to seek employment, to go to school, like tertiary institutions, and so on. And these communities really have their roots, if we're looking for precursors, their roots in colonial legacy. The roughest, most poverty-ridden of these communities, if we look back at reports of the 19th century coming out of slavery and the 20th century, we would see that some of these communities, not all of these were there, of course, But the antecedent communities to these really mirrored what they were coming out of for 320 over 325 years of enslavement, and then after that of colonial subjection in the country. In newspaper reports, for example, in the late 19th century and in 20th century, up into independence, the reports were awful. So the 20th century reports were really no different from the 19th century reports in terms of the level of poverty, the level of police excesses from that time. The history is not just recent post independence history, but it's a history coming from what happened prior to that, colonialism in the form of enslavement and post enslavement British rule.
Yeah, stick up in right there, Prof, because was the research disaggregated in terms of gender, so we could know, male versus female, the responses separate and apart?
Yes, it was. It was.
You have any figures there, or just anecdotally, in terms of church, the males versus females, their views?
The figure is fairly close in relation to that. Amongst males and females.
Okay.
One thing to note, though, is that more females attend church.
Don't we know it?
in my own research and observation,
yeah, man.
Much more females.
Yes.
And depending on which church, a revival church tend to have a lot of female membership, leadership. But certainly at the highest level, probably male. But the church has been historically played a
role.
Two direct roles that were in contradiction. Certainly, the church was responsible for the establishment and management of schools and in teaching.
Most definitely.
Across the country.
Education.
So the church's role in education.
Right.
Of course, prior to that, we have a church supporting slavery.
And opposing it.
Yes. So we have that, and we have a church opposing slavery.
Yes.
But we also have the church in terms of coming from the people, the more African-directed or influence churches that were so much opposed to enslavement.
Yes.
And were repressed, even to this day, on the books, the type of laws that they have.
You're the loud and clear. You're the loud and clear. I suspect that Father Major Campbell is chomping at the bits, but I'd like to ask Father Major Campbell in particular, what do we do with this research going forward? Because there were similar researches done, I'm sure, not the same, but similar. And in times past, the church didn't come out on top. What are we to do with this type of result that we are seeing, Father?
I think there is a lot to be learned from it. What I also find interesting is how it affirms some things that are happening in the society. So very, very recently, as in a few days ago, I saw a situation in one of the communities named where there was a crime situation. And the police proceeded to take a number of people's phones to do some checks. Now, the truth is, there are many communities in Jamaica. You don't have to go further than Paddington Terrace up the road or New Kingston, where the police would not take people's phones, just walk into somebody's yard and demand their phone without a warrant.
Right.
But this can happen in other communities with ease. One of the things also the matter of the classist context of the court. I have been as a lay magistrate in court and see when the clerk of the court steps forward and reads a charge and then proceeds to ask the accused, how do you plead? And the individual is at a complete loss because the language of the court does not help the work of justice sometimes.
You think the church is helping to, make those situations less and less?
Well, that's not something that the church can intervene
in terms of education.
But what I personally do when I am in that context is break down the language. So, take, for example, when the clerk of the court says to someone, you have been charged with using abusive and calumnious language. Court is the first place I hear the word calumnious. So how do you expect somebody who hardly knows or hardly speaks English and largely speaks Jamaican language to understand that? And the person gives a blank stare, and then I will say, "It's true, say, tell the policeman, say so and so and so and so," and that includes the use of the expletive. And the accused will say, "Yes, me tell him something true." But until a language, their heart language is used, they are at a complete loss. So this is a really, in my view, a very valuable piece of research.
Yes.
It's worthy of note too that within the context of church, when people come for help, they also have underlying theological concerns. Human rights language is used comfortably with them. So sometimes in a government space, people are careful, guarded about how they use human rights language because they don't want to lead to the possibility of litigation.
Right.
There is counseling support in church, and very important to note, many people are not aware of this, but many people, many pastors from the space of church are eminently qualified to facilitate therapeutic work and advocacy work. So it's some good work going on there that many are not aware of. People are empowered with help regarding certificates, how to put a resume together, sometimes even how to gain a skill, sometimes with a health situation that needs intervention. I put it this way, if we were to take out the church tomorrow morning from Jamaica, we would see a lot of confusion and suffering because of what the church does.
Right. So commendations to those members of the church, whether clergy or laity, who have been doing what needs to be done, following the Lord Jesus Christ. And now there are signs that there are those who still appreciate it. But yet, church must not become complacent. Right? All is not lost, but we have much more work to be done. Professor Houghton, you think you have the final word. The fact that on the other end of the spectrum of the survey, the political class got all of those, negative responses, a real concern, but I'm getting a wrap-up signal, so we might have to leave that for another discussion. All right. Thank you so very much for joining us, gentlemen. Have a safe and productive day.
Blessings on you all.
All right. Take care then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We want to thank our guests this morning, Professor Pinton Houghton and Father Sean Major Campbell. And thank you, listeners and viewers, for being with us. For information on how to get copies of this program, call our production department at 876-968-9300 959627. This, of course, has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Yashika Nevers, and our guests. Please join Stokely Marshall next week as he continues to look at the issues of the day. I'm Dylan Toussaint, returning you to Love in the Morning with Jakal Dyer.
For all